Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Guns Explained. I'm your host Cameron Porter. We got a great episode here today. We're here with Dan Baerga. He is a retired Army combat engineer, and he qualified as expert in both the M4 and M16 platforms. So he is very qualified to teach us what we're going over today, which is how to shoot a rifle. In a moment here, I'm going to step away and I'm going to let Dan take Caleb under his wing. Caleb is a fairly inexperienced shooter. He is good though. I've seen him shoot, and the few times I have seen him shoot, he does well. But he doesn't have a whole lot of experience, particularly with the AR platform. So Dan here is going to run him through some things and teach him how to go a little bit more accurately when he shoots. So I'll leave them to it.
All right, so for the firearm safety rules, let's briefly review those real quick. So you always want to make sure that you treat the weapon as if it's loaded. Always be sure of your target and the background of your target. Make sure you're not going to hit anything behind it. And you always want to make sure you're not pointing it and you want to make sure you're not pointing it at anything that you're not prepared to destroy. And always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to aim down the sights.
All right.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Before we get started on getting our hands on the weapon, we want to go over the few basics of basic rifle marksmanship. So for starters, we want to talk about having a steady position. To be a good shot, you need to be able to control your body and maintain a steady position. So that comes down to having a good firm grip on the handguard. And then, so that's the first principle. The second principle will be a good sight picture. Here I've brought an example of what a proper sight picture will be for an assault rifle with peep sights or iron sights. Now, if you've played any video games in the last 10 years, you probably have a good idea of what the sight picture looks like. So this is probably a little familiar for you. And then the third thing you want to make sure you're maintaining while shooting is a breath control. Now, there's a lot of techniques on breath control. Now, they say for more distant shots, you want to hold your breath as you're exhaling in between the peak and the valley of your exhale. So you're going in, and then as soon as you're letting out, about halfway of your breath, you want to just hold it, and then you squeeze the trigger to shoot. And the fourth is obviously trigger squeeze. You don't want to pull the trigger because that'll throw your round off. You just want to gently squeeze the trigger, and you want it to be a surprise when it fires.
I see.
Okay? So now that we know some of the fundamentals, let's try and put them into practice. All right, so this is an assault rifle. It's based off of the AR-15 platform. So I'm just going to briefly go over some of the components of the weapon system. All right? So here we have the buttstock. This is what you'll put against the soft part of your shoulder to help stabilize the weapon. This is what we call the pistol grip. This is where you'll grip the weapon with a nice firm grip. Here we have the trigger, which you'll keep your finger off of unless you're ready to aim. And here we have the charging handle that actually that works the action and the bolt. And then on top we'll have iron sights here. This is our backup iron sight with a front sight post. And this is called the hand grip. This is where you'll basically get a good firm grip with your left hand while you're aiming. Unless you're right-handed, you'll use your right hand for it as well. And here we have the magazine well. This is where you'll insert the box magazine that has the bullets. And on this side here, we'll show some more of the controls. Here we have the fire selection switch that goes from safe to fire. We're going to keep it on safe,
All right.
because safety first.
Oh, of course.
All right, and then on this side here, this is the bolt catch. So we can actually lock the bolt back manually by holding it and sliding the charging handle to the rear. Now this allows you to insert the magazine when you're loading the weapon, and then you'll just release the bolt like so when you're ready to engage. All right, so when shooting, you want to have the buttstock of the weapon into your shoulder like so. And you want to have your arm at a nice supportive angle and to where the handguard is resting nicely on your hand. And you don't want to be squeezing it so tight that you're shaking. You just want to have a nice, good, firm grip on it. Right. And then there are a lot of different trains of thought to where you'll want the tip of your nose to touch the charging handle so you can get the same exact distance between your eyeball and the sight and the rear sight every single time. So it just becomes muscle memory. And so this right here would be a good prone position. Some people like to kick their leg out so it doesn't, or kick their leg in. Some people like to kick their leg in so as they breathe, their diaphragm doesn't disturb their steady position. Go ahead and fire when ready.
I think I'm out.
All right, go ahead and put it on safe. Okay. All right. So here we don't have too bad of a grouping. Some of these farther random shots here is probably due to trigger squeeze, especially this guy up here. If you're maintaining the same sight picture, a good grouping will be all together. From here we can go on and practice a couple of the different fundamentals. So mostly up and down will be breath control, left and right will be trigger squeeze.
Cool.
Okay? All right. Get a nice good firm grip on that pistol grip. Remember, keep that finger on the trigger. Do you feel that click?
Yeah.
Okay, so now keep your finger wrapped on that trigger. So this time you want to keep your finger wrapped around that trigger, and when you fire, keep it held back and slowly let go of the trigger while maintaining contact with that trigger, okay?
All right.
All right. All right. I think that was better.
Yeah.
Hey, you got one in the bullseye.
Oh, cool.
All right, but we're still a little bit all over the place.
I'm certain that one was an accident.
Well, I wasn't going to say it. But I think by sticking to those fundamentals, exercising that trigger squeeze is one of the biggest things that'll definitely throw your round off. So by practicing that over and over again, you'll be able to get a lot tighter groupings.
Right. So anyway, thanks Dan for being here and helping me improve my shot today. And special thanks to all you guys watching and who tune in every week. And also a very special thanks to our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the page, just go to patreon.com/gunsexplained. And that's it for today. We'll see you next week.
That episode rocked! If you want to rock too, like our Facebook page and subscribe on Patreon to help support more episodes. Have a good day!